People, good morning. This is Johan Rousseau, the chairman of FIRA. We just had a discussion with a certain Matilda of New Horizons Funeral Services in Oudtshoorn. Our member, Strydom Funeral Services, has resigned from the NFDA, of which she's the chairman in Oudtshoorn. And the family decided to utilize our members' services. When she realized that our member is not a member of the NFDA anymore, suddenly the standard price between the NFDA members and others has been increased, which ultimately, so we've requested the NFDA and SAFPA and all funeral associations in South Africa to have a standard removal and storage cost. The funeral parlours or opposition is not being affected by these measures. It is the public which funds has been absorbed by an opposition funeral parlour to retain the business. They do not care about the public. The monies that these people have to pay is then subtracted from the insurance, which ensures that the family gets less for the services that they're supposed to get. So we urge the NFDA to look at this. We've already sent them President Manesh Govender a message and a warning that we will apply for a spoliation application through FIRA Legal and Reino de Beer to ensure that these deceased people are provided to another funeral parlour which is not within their networks or does not belong to their organisation or affiliations or federations, because this is nothing else than exploiting the public. 1. 2, it is absolute manipulation of the public at a time when they don't need that, at a time when they need to grieve, the time which they need to stay home, especially in the circumstances that we find ourselves with the coronavirus. Now these people are being exploited whilst they're in distress, whilst they're emotional. The public is now being affected. It's not our member that's been affected. It's not FIRA that's been affected. It's not the NFDA that's been affected. It's the public. And we need to make this abundantly clear in the public space that the NFDA and their affiliates, including SAFPA and their federation, only represent less than 20% of the funeral industry in South Africa, as much as that. If it's as much as that. When we applied to write the funeral ombudsman, they opposed it, stating that there wasn't sufficient consultation, which is absolute hogwash. The NFDA was informed, SAFPA was informed, and a lot of these funeral associations popped up along the road, and they were influenced to oppose this. It was not about opposing it, it was because of personal issues. And when they opposed this, the process was stopped. Believing that these organizations represent the funeral industry in totality, it is absolute nonsense. There's 30,000 funeral parlours in South Africa, of which they only represent a small percentage collectively, of which that small percentage collectively consists of 3 or 4 national funeral companies. What about all the other smaller funeral parlours and medium and small funeral parlours that's been affected? We want to make it abundantly clear that this person in Oudtshoorn is overstepping her authority. 1, the prices that they are charging is a decision that was taken by the NFDA. NFDA and SAFPA and their federation do not have the legal jurisdiction to determine these prices, especially when it comes to external parties. Internally they could have that arrangement, but externally they have got no right in terms of the law to charge these prices. And when a person is a non-member, other figures is available, or other figures or other charges has been made available. People, it's absolutely ridiculous that a person goes and stays in a morgue for a day or two, and they have to pay 3 and 4 and 5 and 10,000 rand. It is higher prices than the Holiday Inn is charging. And we just asked ourselves, do they get bread and breakfast in the mortuary? Please, people, it's ridiculous, and we urge the funeral industry to take corrective action, as we will do in this case, because we told this Matilda of this funeral company that the calls are recorded, and we will give it through to the National Consumer Commission, and we will give it through to the Competitions Commission. We have said that in writing to the NFDA and their members and affiliated associations, that this is incorrect. We need to accommodate the public, and we need to accommodate the total funeral industry. And if they did not oppose the ombudsman, these measures would have been stopped in 2016 when we proposed this to the National Consumer Commission, which was opposed. And then when they said there wasn't sufficient consultation, they said to the media on SAFM, by virtue of Adrian Bester and myself, that was on national radio at that stage representing the NFDA, stating that they will put an alternative ombudsman, draft ombudsman, in place and present that towards the National Consumer Commission. It has never been done. So we wonder what they say on a public domain and a public forum, whether they are sincere in what they are saying. We question mark the integrity of the organization and the people representing them when they make these public comments. We please urge them to stick to what they are saying, not misleading and confusing the public and the media. We are trying to say that they are not affecting the industry or their organizations. They're affecting the public and their members, because ultimately these members of the public will go out there and tell everyone that this organization, which is representing them, is ultimately there to increase their prices, is there to exploit them, because it's allowed by the associations. We cannot allow this, people. Let's work together. Let's make it work that will assist the funeral industry, will assist, and will ultimately, we will be in a position where we can say to the National Consumer Commission, the industry has taken control of their own affairs because of their unavailability and inability to make things right that affects the public. FIRA is playing a two-way role in this regard. We are, one, looking at our members' interest, and then secondly, we are looking at the public's best interest. We cannot allow these things to happen, because ultimately that was why one of the many reasons why we tried to establish the ombudsman. The second thing that we tried to establish the ombudsman is to stop the manipulation of big companies utilizing exclusive network of funeral parlors, which is maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 funeral parlors. What about smaller funeral parlors that wants to do business, for example, with Solidarity? They can't do it. If they want to do business with OASA, they can't do that. When they want to do business with GBA, they can't do that because of possible manipulation. We cannot allow that, people. Certain churches are doing the same because of the infrastructure and the network of some funeral parlors. We could say that there's thousands of funeral parlors out there that does better service at a less price, but unfortunately the public has been pushed into a direction because of an agreement between this grouping and their union members. They must keep in mind that the public did not sign that agreement. In terms of the Consumer Protection Act, they are allowed to utilize a funeral parlor of their own choice. Please, let's not take this thing up in a court of law, because they will lose the case. And that's not the intention that we want to do. We want to say to each and every organization and association out there, let's have and let's force the funeral parlors, which is not part of the funeral industry associations, to buy into this thing, because we are in the East Rand. Certain opposition is charging each other 10 and 15,000 rand for removals. Please, people, that's ridiculous. It is unfair, it's unjust, and we're affecting the public. We cannot allow the public to be affected. We've understood a while ago that one of our members that joined us was contacted by the NFDA and said to them, you need to resign from FIRA, because if you do not resign, you will not get the benefits or the discounted pricing which is applicable to FIRA members. People, that's manipulation. The people did not want to affiliate to them because there is no support functions other than the removal and storage cost. And then when there's a service. But let us surprise you. Cross-pollination agreement in terms of the law, we could then go further than that and say to them that we are, in conjunction with our financial services partners, which will be launched and made available very, very soon, that we will introduce an insurance product as a value add, not increasing premiums to cover these costs, that will enable a funeral parlour to do these services, remove the deceased without a cost, without 1 cent of cost, including the public which utilizes their services. So what that means is, thank you very much, the hold and the strong hold that associations has got on their members and affiliates and opposition will be gone, because that product will cover the removal and storage cost and service fees between a funeral parlour and its competition within the same network. Thank you very much, and we wish that you share this information to all funeral associations and all funeral parlours. FIRA will not allow its members or the industry or the public to be subjected by these illegal, and inverted commas, illegal operations that affects the industry and the public. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.